What is good? What is up? It's Jordan, Texans Thoughts, and I'm back with another film breakdown. Today, I'm showing y'all why Jalen Pitre out of Baylor is my favorite Houston Texans draft pick. As always, we'll talk his strengths, improvement areas, and how the Texans can best put him in a position to succeed. If they can do that, I think he can have a Tyrann Mathieu, Kenny Moore, Budda Baker type of impact for Houston. If you guys enjoy, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content. We are just 60 subs away from 6K, and comment down below who you want to see on the next film breakdown. Alright, let's break down the film of Jalen Pitre because the film don't lie. Firstly, I want to share just how happy I was that we drafted Pitre because he has been my guy since I first watched him in November. Shout out Ryan for the recommendation. From loving his film to, believing he can return first round value to interviewing him firsthand at the Senior Bowl. Pitre was my yearly draft crush who I figured would never be drafted by my Texans. But for once, it actually happened, and I'm stoked. There's a lot to love about how Pitre plays football and what he brings to the Texans, but I need to start with his tenacious attitude. This dude, as Nick Caserio puts it, plays with his hair on fire, and I'll take it a step further. I think he plays like a heat-seeking missile who just flies around the field at 1,000,000 miles per hour. He leaves his whole heart out on the field on every single play, and I love his passion for football and for winning. I think this human missile analogy, is best seen when he's blitzing, which is arguably his biggest strength. This is also where his versatility shines, as Pitre can rush like a 3-4 outside linebacker on the line of scrimmage, or he can blitz from a more traditional nickel cornerback position. Hell, he can even disguise like he's dropping into a deep zone and then blitz from there. Much like Kyle Hamilton, even though Pitre is labeled as a safety on the depth chart, he's much more than just a safety. He's a multi-positional hybrid defender who does his best work when he's allowed to play in the box and blitz. Pitre is great at putting pressure on the quarterback because of his snap timing, closing speed, but also pass rush nuance. Versus the right tackle here, Pitre is lined up as a wide 9 technique, like a defensive end, and he understands how to set up his rush to fool the tackle. By lining up this wide, Pitre naturally has an advantage due to the wider angle he can take to the quarterback. Pitre knows that the tackle needs to get wide in his pass set to cut off the outside angle to the quarterback and make up for that disadvantage. But Pitre is playing mind games and starts his rush to the outside, gives a jab step and fake that direction, but then explodes inside towards the open space. Pitre's athletic advantage, being fluid like a defensive back, allows him to almost jump cut past the right tackle like a running back in the open field. Watching how he pass rushes like a defensive end, it makes sense how he was able to get 6 sacks over his last 2 seasons at Baylor. Now for the Texans to maximize Pitre's strengths as a blitzer, Lovie Smith is going to need to get out of his comfort zone and blitz more often. According to True Media, we finished 27th in the NFL in blitz percentage at just 19%. Lovie can use Pitre's blitzing prowess as a weapon, which will help us get after the quarterback more often. That's an area that we struggled in last season, ranking just 21st in pressure rate on our non-blitzes, and 27th in total sacks. Lovie just can't keep relying on a 4-man rush like he has all his career. Houston doesn't have the elite defensive lineman like Lovie has had at times in Chicago, but he does have a human missile in Jalen Pitre. You just gotta unclip his wings and let him fly. After Pitre's blitzing capabilities, his next best asset for the Texans is his run defense and reliable open field tackling, as he's racked up 135 tackles and 29.5 tackles for loss over his past 2 seasons at Baylor. This is where we really need to talk about the star position. The star is a hybrid position which combines the responsibilities of a Sam or strong side linebacker and a nickel cornerback. They'll play at the second level like a true linebacker and will align to the strong side of the offensive formation, as indicated by whichever side the tight end is lined up on. Being a star means you need to diagnose the run quickly and be willing to, get your nose dirty in the trenches like a linebacker. And Pitre is perfect for this role as he plays bigger than his size indicates, much like the versatile defensive backs he models his game after.
Film don't lie, for sure. Who are some players that you like to kind of watch on film and model your game after and learn from? Yeah, I kind of love Tyrann Mathieu. He's a great player. He has great instincts, always around the ball, and he seems like he's a great teammate. When I watch him on Sundays, he's always communicating with his teammates and letting them know what they need to do. Also, with that, I love Buda Baker. He's always flying around, and I kind of try to mix those two together and kind of model my game after that.
Pitre often played this star position as well as a more traditional nickel cornerback position, and he was really good at chasing down the run from the backside and eliminating the cutback lane for running backs. Furthermore, his physical tackling shows up when in coverage too. On this play, Baylor is in a very familiar coverage for Texans fans, Tampa 2. Pitre is playing nickel and tasked with a seam hook zone, which asks him to drop 10 to 12 yards past the line of scrimmage. Now his first responsibility is to cover a vertical route up the seam, if that comes, and his second responsibility is to read and react to underneath routes. Pitre needs to watch the quarterback's eyes, cheat towards where he thinks the throw is going, and then close space to tackle the ball carrier. You can see that as soon as the quarterback starts his windup, Pitre is flying downhill to stop the running back in the flat. This is picture perfect coverage and tackling out of Pitre. That brings us to Pitre's potential in coverage, and we talked about the star position needing to be able to defend the run like a linebacker, which Pitre does pretty damn well for someone who is 5'11", 198 pounds. The other major responsibility of a star is to obviously still hold up in coverage like a typical nickel cornerback. Now Pitre is not perfect in this regard, and I'll get to that later, but he was very productive in college with 4 interceptions and 9 pass breakups in his final 2 seasons. Pitre is particularly good at passing off coverage responsibilities and communicating with teammates. On this play, Pitre is initially lined up to cover the slot wide receiver, and his linebacker is lined up to cover the tight end. But the offense has the slot run a shallow slant and the tight end run a deeper in-breaking route, creating a levels concept. And there's no way for Pitre to fight through all this traffic and stop the slant. So instead, he and the linebacker switch their coverage responsibilities, with the linebacker taking the slot on the slant and Pitre taking the tight end on the inbreaker. This perfect communication leads to both routes being smothered and the quarterback taking a sack. Houston's defense has had more than a few coverage breakdowns over the years because of poor communication on assignments like these. But Pitre is a perfectionist and will work tirelessly to improve his craft and eliminate mistakes. Ideally, he's put in this star role and is allowed to play a lot of nickel cornerback, even though, that is a big logjam on defense with Desmond King, Tavier Thomas, and MJ Stewart all playing their best ball as a nickel. Don't get me wrong, it's a good problem to have depth there, but hopefully Lovey and the coaching staff can create a plan to best play Pitre to his strengths and keep him closer to the line of scrimmage than your traditional safety. Now that we've gone over Pitre's strengths and how he can be best used as a box defender and nickel corner, let's talk about some of his improvement areas. His first strength I mentioned, his tenacious attitude and fiery passion, can also be a negative at times, as his over-aggressiveness can lead to blown assignments. Pitre needs to contain this option run better and force the handoff to the running back. As the last defender on the backside, he just cannot crash down like this and leave the quarterback a wide open lane to take off. I think over time, Pitre will be able to find a better balance of being aggressive, but also disciplined within the scheme. Next, while Pitre plays bigger than his size, there are still some reps where his stature just limits him and he can struggle to shed blocks. He's much better at going around blocks and evading them entirely, but when he needs to stack and shed, he can get stalled up. Additionally, that lack of size can hurt him in coverage versus bigger tight ends that know how to get away with pushing off and using their physicality to their advantage. Pitre plays solid catch technique here in coverage and gets physical with the tight end at the top of his route, but the tight end still separates, the ball is placed perfectly and just out of Pitre's reach. This weakness makes Pitre a bit of a matchup dependent defender. You don't really want him to man cover huge tight ends like Darren Waller, he's not Cam Chancellor. Additionally, you don't really want him to main cover elite slot wide receivers like Cooper Kupp. He's not Jalen Ramsey. Pitre can run in, straight lines and keep up with slot fades, don't get me wrong, but his footwork and route recognition skills are occasionally still seem raw when he needs to change direction. The last thing I'll mention is that even though he is labeled as a safety, I wouldn't really expect him to play deep and ball hawk like a true free safety. He's not Earl Thomas either. Jalen Pitre is Jalen Pitre, and I love that. Be clear, to me, none of these improvement areas really concern me too much. There's not a clear hole in Pitre's game that offenses can target. It's more up to the coaching staff to put him in the best position to maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. My game plan would go like this. On rundowns, I'd play more single high safety coverages than we have in the past. This would put the strong safety into the box and give us a numbers advantage versus the run. Pitre can play that box safety role perfectly. You can also play him as a pure nickel cornerback in Lovey's beloved Tampa 2 coverage with 2 deep safety. I would be silly to think that that's just going to completely be gone from his scheme. And Pitre will play much better closer to the line of scrimmage than deep in these coverages. Then on passing downs, let's say second or third and long, Pitre can play as an outside linebacker, whether that's as a stack formation and playing a seam hook zone coverage or blitzing from that second level. Moving Pitre around the defense depending on the situation and the offensive personnel, that will be the best way to get the most out of Pitre. And if the coaching staff follows the plan similar to mine, I'm confident we'll be talking about Jalen Pitre as one of the best 10 rookies from this class. He can have a Tyrann Mathieu, Budda Baker, Kenny Moore type of impact for Houston if he's allowed to play versatile and blitz the quarterback. Alright, that's going to do it for the breakdown. If you guys enjoyed and want to see more, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and comment down below your thoughts on Jalen Pitre. Take care, everyone. Come back for more. And remember, the film don't lie.